Okay, over to you guys.
Okay. Bruce, just to give you a little perspective on India, what's happening right now. And we saw the opening of stores in India yesterday. That was the first day, and all the green zones and orange zones across India, more than 400 districts have showrooms have opened up. And we saw good, it was quite surprising to see a lot of customers walking in day one. And retailers actually told us the boutique stores, like Bangalore and Bombay and Gujarat, that they did sales of 20 to 25%, which was quite good actually. And everybody was coming to buy new jewelry. And one of the things which is really standing out is that people felt that diamond jewelry will not be asked for. And these stores also stock Forever Mark. So we felt we were talking to C. Krishna Chetty or Abaran and these GRT. These are all your stores, and they said no, people actually came in and asked for diamonds. So also Forever Mark, and it has really helped because your campaign didn't stop. Even in this lockdown, people saw the Forever Mark campaign in Vogue magazine and a lot of newspapers. So that really helped, and a very good, supportive, positive messaging, which Sachin also has been doing through a lot of webinars, has kept the trade morale high. So we feel that the markets opening up now slowly. By 1st of June, most likely the entire country will be open, and we'll see a very strong rebound. India will be perhaps one of the first countries to really see good sales because there are a lot of weddings also lined up for the month of June and July this year. So we are already seeing it, and it's a good and positive move for both gold as well as diamonds, and also Forever Mark, which is, I think, a fantastic job which you guys have done. There's not a single negative comment coming out of the Forever Mark office in India, and that is really helping. Thank you for that. So, what is the first question is, what is the De Beers Group's view on this current situation?
Yeah, I mean, look, the current situation is not an easy situation for anybody, including De Beers Group, but it's not easy for anyone in the whole world. Our first response, as you would expect, and has been, of course, to look after our people. So we've made a massive effort across the world to ensure that our people are as safe as possible and that the communities that our people come from are as safe as possible. So the first thing we did actually was spend an enormous amount of time and effort and money in making sure that our health protocols were perfect, that we had sufficient screening machinery, testing machinery, etc., so that we could make sure that our people were tested and can come to work where possible, because to me it's really important we keep the economic supply chains open as much as we can. And so actually the first focus for De Beers and for me was safety and health of our people. I think we've done a tremendous job across the world in that. I think we've got industry-leading protocols with Anglo American, our main shareholder, in the mining side of how we make mining people safe, keep communities safe, etc. So I'm very proud of what the whole De Beers Group's done there. We've also made a significant contribution to the fight against gender-based violence, which you will know, unfortunately, has flared up all over the world through lockdown, and you also know that police forces have less time on their hands to help on these areas. So it's very important to us that the women in our communities are looked after as best as possible. So the kind of first phase of our response has been kind of a health and safety response. The second phase of our response, and obviously we work in these in parallel, has been to think very hard about a couple of things. One is how we get through this crisis, not just as De Beers, but as the industry. And then the third phase is exactly what you've just spoken about now, Samit, which is, what does the recovery look like? Because there will be a recovery, and actually we think the recovery will be perhaps quicker than people might think. So we spent a lot of time in the operational side trying to work out what the optimal production profile is for the De Beers mines. Now, you'll appreciate mines are large and complex things that you can't just click your fingers and produce it a little bit less. It requires very detailed planning, very focused planning, in order to reduce production. But what we did was we essentially closed all the mines that we had, step one, as a health issue, and made sure that the health protocols were absolutely as good as we could get them, working with governments. In all the countries in which there's been a lockdown on the mining side, we've been able to agree with governments to start to release that. So we are bringing our mines back into production, not necessarily at the same rate as before, but into production. And you would have seen our public production guidance is to lower the volume of carats we'll produce in 2020 by about 25%. And we do that, as we always say, Samit, in order to produce according to demand. So we work a lot with our customers in India and with the retailers, not just in India, but in China, in Japan and mostly in the US to try and understand what demand would look like. So we've done all of that in a very careful and safe way in order to take some pressure off the midstream in particular, but also to ensure that there is product going through both, because the factories need to keep open and the mines have to keep producing. It's very inefficient to shut them. So the second part of our response was very much an operational response. We've been very flexible with our clients. I think you know that we've said to them they could have 100% deferrals in Site 3 and in Site 4, and we will continue to work with customers in order to ensure that they are in an optimal position, recognizing it's not easy for any of us. And then the last part's the part you started with, which is actually there's some signs of recovery already. So in China in particular, where there's a sustained recovery, at least 90% of the doors are now open and the footfall is coming back. And exactly to your point, there's actually some pent-up demand which gets released at a time like this. So provided you've set your business up to reopen and provided you've carried on investing in marketing, we actually think there's a good prospect for diamond recovery. So for us, as I say, it's been a lot focused on health and safety, a lot focused on a production and sales response, and then a lot thinking about how we come out of this together and come out of this better.
Great. The second question is, what is important right now for companies in the diamond sector, especially the cutting and polishing guys or the diamond jewelry manufacturing companies?
Yeah, and it's a question I get asked a lot. I mean, firstly, as I always say, we're all in this together. And so whether you're an explorer or a miner or a polisher or a dealer or a diamond jewelry manufacturer or a diamond jewelry seller, we all live in a connected supply chain. So I think it is important that we try and understand as best we can how we can help all elements of the supply chain to stay at least somewhat in balance, recognizing it's not easy. Secondly, I think each business is different, and I obviously can't give advice to individual businesses, but for me, it's about making sure our people are safe, making sure our protocols are as good as you can from a health point of view, obviously conserving cash as much as you can in a difficult time because sales will be lower, but trying to do it in a way where you don't damage the long-term business because there will be a recovery, and then we need to be ready to respond into the recovery. So I guess every business is looking at those in a different way, it's specific to each business. To me, it's a kind of a combination of cash conservation, but not damaging the fabric of your business so you can't respond when we recover, because we will recover.
Okay. And how do you think should the diamond trade work together and make this recovery faster or in a much more collaborative manner?
Yeah, so I'm a strong believer, and De Beers is a strong believer in global supply chains and in trying to keep them as whole as possible, recognizing that it's not 100% possible in a market like this. And so I think it is important that we all try and help each other to keep supply chains open, whether they're in Africa, whether they're in India, whether they're in different parts of the world, because as I see it, if one side of this industry doesn't succeed, then another side doesn't succeed. So I do think dialogue is important. We've learned actually an interesting thing because, normally Paul and I and Paul's team would be with Sachin in India and talking to people in India, but we're not able to do that. But actually we've learned, and I'm sure you'd agree, you can do a lot more these days, with the kind of tools we're talking to you on now than you used to be able to. So we are very focused on talking to our customers as much as we can, hearing from them, but also, of course, talking to our producer governments and hearing from them. And so that's all over Southern Africa. We're doing a lot of that as well. So dialogue is even more important now. I think being focused on the fact that there will be an exciting future if we can get things right together. I think marketing is even more important now. I think that's a better way of doing things than perhaps an alternative, which would be to talk to each other less and to try and cut off different parts of the supply chain. So I don't think it's easy, but I think dialogue, openness, talking to each other, hearing each other, maybe even more important now than in normal times.
And what do you think is the future for diamonds and diamond jewelry? Because there is a lot of talk, while the diamond dream will be always be there, and you guys are doing fantastic in marketing. But in terms of price, promotions, or what do you think will it be, in the coming immediate future and the near future?
Well, certainly in the medium to long term, we feel very positive. And as I think I said earlier, the evidence we have is that the diamond industry has responded very well from pretty much all recessions we've got data on. And that is, I think, for a combination of reasons, pent-up demand, people feeling a little economically a little better than they were. I think in this crisis, diamonds can have a role to play, which is even more significant because, and I'm sure you'll agree, there's no one that I know who hasn't in one way or another had some impact with a virus. Somebody they know has got it, somebody they know is very ill. And so I think it's caused people, and the lockdown, of course, has caused people to think more about what really matters to them. And I think what really matters to them is relationships. I think ultimately they matter more than things. And I think diamonds can easily be more than a thing because they are inherently precious. They are given and received and self-purchased at great moments, meaningful moments in people's lives. And so if we can tailor our marketing to touch on that, which we will of course be doing, I actually think that there's no reason to think diamonds won't come out of this very well. Of course, you need to drive demand, and of course, you need to continue to invest in marketing because without that, you won't succeed. And you need to be different, as we often say. But I think, as you said earlier, you can see a lot of great stuff going on with Forever Mark in India, where they are different and they are thinking about the future. So I think at a kind of a medium to long term level, I think there are very good reasons to be optimistic. But in the short term, I mean, we don't ever give out our views on diamond prices. You appreciate we're part of a big listed company in London, so we're not allowed to do that. And that's why the actions we've taken really have been to take some pressure off the midstream, so to reduce our production, which is not easy, and also to give our customers as much flexibility as possible. So if we all work with each other in those kind of ways, I think there's no reason to think we won't come through this period in reasonable shape and then have a nice opportunity to bounce back.
Great. And what will be your message to especially the Indian retail jewelry community? Because, you have been doing a lot of knowledge-based sessions with them. You have taken them to study abroad and done a lot of field trips, and also the forum, Forever Mark Forum, has been doing very well. Is there something different they should expect from you this year, or is it going to be same, or are you planning something new for especially the Indian market, which is
well, I mean, the plans that Sachin and the team are working on are obviously still being worked on, but we're planning to do even more at Diwali. We think wedding season is a great opportunity. Frankly, we think maybe there'll be almost 2 seasons in one, and that will be a significant opportunity. So you will see some different campaigns. You'll also see some different designs that they're busy working on. But all, of course, reinforcing the core message, the preciousness of the product, the importance to people, and the importance in relationships. So you can expect to see, as you always do from Sachin's team, some really great stuff in the coming seasons. And I'm glad you mentioned them. Things like Forum have been very successful for us. I think you get my message to the trade is, if we do this right and we market correctly and we position our product correctly, we should actually be able to come out of this, I think, better than some other industries because of the uniqueness of our product and our offering.
Okay. And, there's also this debate which has been going on for many years, and even now it's more in India. I was talking to somebody who asked me this, that what do you think will now happen to lab grown versus the natural debate? And does this entire COVID-19 situation make people realize the importance of natural diamonds and how important it plays a role in their life?
Yes, I would expect so, actually, because, just continuing on the theme of what I've been talking about, I think what is going to really matter to people is things that are close to their heart and that are emotions. And I can't see how a lab grown or anything created in 3 weeks in a lab or anything fashion related can really fill that need. So I think actually, if we do this right, and as I said earlier, we market right and we get our marketing campaigns right, actually there should be a really positive future for the natural diamond world. Because I think people are going to come out of this much more focused on things that really, really matter. And, my view would be things like lab grown are kind of nice to have, but don't fill that kind of emotional gap. And therefore, I would think the future for the natural diamond industry is very positive.
And finally, what do you think will be the percentage growth or degrowth for this year? For example, India runs an April to March financial year. We have seen this couple of months of not couple of months, say 45 days lockdown now. As it opens up by June, what do you think will be the percentage of sales compared to last year to this financial year?
You'll appreciate, Samit, we don't give out, for reasons I mentioned, any forward guidance on anything other than the amount we'll produce. So we don't give out partly because we're part of a big listed company, we don't give out future projections on sales. I guess the answer to your question is, as much as anything, it depends. It depends on how long the lockdowns last. It depends on how successful governments are in lifting them. It depends on how successful we as an industry are on getting that pent-up demand back into our product. I think if those all go well, we could expect to get out of this crisis reasonably soon in reasonably good shape. But you'll appreciate there are many variables in there that you don't know the answers to, and you have to keep changing your scenarios as different things play out. So we model various scenarios. We always say we'll produce in accordance with demand. We continue to look at that through the year to see whether we need to make adjustments. But I think more importantly, my message to the trade is medium to long term, we actually think there's a very positive future for us.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Bruce.
Great. Good to chat.
Yes.
Thanks, Samit.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you, Samit.